Yesterday, we talked about acting styles and the different styles. You can be a movie star, you can be a character actor. What's the difference? Does it matter? So today, I thought I'd talk about casting short films. And I have a full cast audiobook that I actually was involved in casting as well. So I'm going to bring that into the mix. Basically, three ways you can cast your short film or creative project of any kind. It could be a feature, it could be a full cast audiobook like we did. So how do you cast these things? How do you get in front of the right people? How do you find people that you want to be in your film? People who fit the roles that you're looking for, right? And just for a little bit of context, if you you don't know me, I'm a writer, director, and a producer. I have produced, I think, 5 short films now, and 3 of them in the last 10 years, plus a full cast audiobook. And every single one of those we had to cast. And so the question is, how do you cast these things? How do you find people to be in your movies, audiobooks, whatever it is you're trying to cast? So I'm just going to give you the story of how we cast each one of these things. 10 years ago, we did a movie called Star Wars Rivals. You can watch Star Wars Rivals here on this channel. It's a Star Wars fan film. We entered it in the Star Wars Celebration Awards, where they look at a bunch of fan films and give awards to them. It's gotten really good feedback here on YouTube, so check it out. Definitely go look up Star Wars Rivals on this channel. That film is a little, I gotta go back in history a little bit to explain how we cast that film. So when I was co-writing and producing some films, this goes back like 15 years ago, some short films I was involved in for the 168 film project. I met a guy named Chris. Chris reached out to me because he really liked a script that I had written that had gotten second place in this contest. And Chris was asking me if I wanted to join him to do the 168 Film Festival, which is like you write, produce, and shoot a film in a week. And I said, yeah, that sounds really fun. Let's do it. So I was a producer and a writer on the first film we did together. And in that film, I didn't cast it at all. I wasn't involved in casting whatsoever. And he landed 2 people who were extraordinary. I mean, everybody was great, but these 2 people stood out to me personally. Marianne Holland and Kirk Boville. And Kirk Boville played this kind of like, it was kind of like a cheesy kid, like sort of like Stranger Things-ish, but like cheesier and more kiddish. And it was intentional that way. We wrote it that way. And Kirk played the villain and Marianne played one of the heroes. And that's important because Chris cast them in his next film, which I was on as a producer. I decided not to write it because he was doing subject matter material that I wasn't as familiar with, so he did that himself. But I got to talk to Kirk again. I got to talk to Marianne again, and developed friendships with them. Okay, so it's 10 years ago. I'm going to cast my Star Wars short film, and I went to Marianne and I said, Marianne, I want to produce this film. It's already been written. Nathan and I have written this film. It's a Star Wars short film. We're gonna submit it to the Star Wars fan awards. So we need to cast this film. Marianne, we want you to be in it. We knew Marianne. We loved Marianne's work ethic. It was easy to say, like, Marianne, you're in. So Marianne was going to be our lead. We needed someone. There was about 2 sisters, so we needed another person who looked like Marianne. And she knew Maddie Curley, and so did the DP of that shoot named Lucas Colombo, who's also a DP and co-director of No Vacancy. So they got Maddie Curley. Now Maddie Curley was in a really popular gymnast movie. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. You probably, if you know, leave me a comment down below and let me know what that was. It wasn't Bring It On. It was the other one. So Maddie Curley was in that. Maddie Curley is like a CrossFitter. So huge to cast Maddie Curley in this film with Marianne as her sister, because we were going to have a lightsaber battle. If you're going to have a lightsaber battle, having somebody who knows CrossFit and can do gymnastics is awesome, right? In fact, she does a somersault in the movie, which is cool. So I knew Marianne. I had Marianne and her husband, Kristen, who's awesome. Both of them helped us get Lucas Colombo to DP it. He knew Maddie Curley, and Marianne knew Maddie Curley. We got Maddie Curley as well. And then Lucas knew another guy, and then we cast him as well. So it was just a who do you know kind of thing, right? So the first way of casting your film is find people who know other people who they can vouch for as being good to be on your set. So number one way to cast your film, if you don't know any casting directors, you have no clue what's going on, find other actors who you think are great, and then they will help you find other great people. It works really well that way. We used a similar thing on our full cast audiobook, Death of a Bounty Hunter, but instead of just 3 roles, we were casting like 11 roles in that full cast audiobook. But it was the same thing. Went to Marianne. Marianne, who are some of the people that you know? Went to my other friends. Who are some of the people that you know? I knew a bunch of podcasters because a bunch of podcasters have been on podcasts with me. Who do you know? I'd love to see more auditions from them. It's a very similar process. But we did get 11 performers. And the word got out because some people posted to their social media and even posted to LA audition networks. So we got auditions from more people than we even anticipated getting. So make sure that you know people that know the ins and outs of how does the word get out that someone is casting their film. And you can get really quality people that way. I met some really awesome people. Anastasia Washington, Kyle Stroud. I'm going to forget all the names of them, but our full cast audiobook, Death of a Bounty Hunter. By the way, if you like sort of anime style weird Western stories, sort of like a Cowboy Bebop or whatever, you might really enjoy the full cast audiobook of Death of a Bounty Hunter. So you can check that out if you get a chance. Just search any audiobook place for that. You'll find it. If you can't find it, put Death of a Bounty Hunter and then put my name because that'll show up for sure. Okay, so that's method number 1. Method number 1 is find people who you trust and get them to spread the word that you are casting a short film, and you will find people. Now, No Vacancy was a different situation. So this is methodology number 2. Methodology number 2, now we lucked out in a lot of ways with No Vacancy. First of all, I contacted Kirk Beauville again, and I mentioned Kirk Beauville working with us way back 15, 20 years ago or whatever it was. He was at the beginning of his acting career. Kirk has gone on to be, he's right here on the poster, by the way. That's Kirk. Kirk has gone on to be in Oscar-nominated films. Kirk and his wife Joni became essentially something that's very difficult to become. I don't know how many people know this, but only like 15 to 20%, and it might be even lower in 2026 because the market has dipped a little bit. But only 15 to 20% of actors only are actors. They're like working actors where that's all they do. They don't have any other side gigs. They just are actors. It's a very low number. It's crazy. But Kirk and Joni were that. They were on all the shows. Chances are you have seen Kirk in a show before, and Joni as well. So we're casting No Vacancy, and Lucas, my co-director and DP, he recommended that I talk to a casting director out of LA that he uses a lot. So she came on board. We did pay her. Okay, so we had budget to pay her, and it was unreal what she was able to get us. Now, granted, it was the actor strike was going on. We were an independent project, of course, because we're just a little short film. There's no studio producing this. We're producing this ourselves. But Cara Sullivan, shout out to Cara. Cara's amazing. Cara Sullivan cast our movie for us. I had for the lead character, which Colleen plays, I think I had, I don't know, 500 or 600 auditions that I could watch through. We ended up choosing Colleen because she's a mutual friend of ours, and Colleen is incredibly talented. So again, Lucas had worked with Colleen before. Colleen was a friend of Marianne's. We're in the same network. So find a good network. It's easier to cast if you're in a good network. I contacted Kirk and Joni, who of course didn't have work because all of the productions had shut down because of the actors strike. And I was able to work out a deal with them. Now, granted, you don't want to waste people's times like Kirk and Joni, right? You don't want to. They are working actors. They don't have a lot of free time. So I don't just send them any script, I think, like, oh, hey, why don't you read this script and let me know how it is? I only send them the scripts that I think are phenomenal scripts, right? And the No Vacancy script had won awards. We were very confident in it. I sent it to Kirk. I sent it to Joni, and I said, "Hey, I'd love for you guys to be in this. If I know that the strike has shut everything down, but we have an exemption from SAG. You can work with us. We'd love to work with you." So send that off to Kirk and Joni. They agreed to be in it. So 3 of the people in No Vacancy we did have prior connections with, but Cara got us all the rest of them. And we got Spencer Harrison Levin, who's phenomenal and hilarious in No Vacancy. No Vacancy is coming out soon, by the way, so you should be able to watch it shortly and see how well Kara got the casting of that film done. So the second methodology that you can utilize, Ben Holtzmuller is also in that. He's really great in that. Yeah, just phenomenal stuff. Austin Lynn Hall is amazing in it. You should watch it when it comes out. I'll let everybody know, because I'm going to be doing these live shows. These filmmaker brunches is what I'm calling them. Every weekday I'm trying to do these. And so you can get a casting director, and getting a casting director who works in Hollywood is pretty awesome, because you get a ton of auditions, and the audition process, which I'll go through in more detail in another video, basically is a very targeted process to get you the best possible people. And really good casting directors are really good at getting the right people. So that's amazing. Highly recommend getting a casting director if you can afford it and if you have the budget for it. So that's methodology number 2, is get even more specifically, a Hollywood casting director, and you will get lots and lots of attention for your product or your project, and be able to cast that way. So way number 1 is just network really well, and really good performers know other really good performers, and they'll help you find people. Way number 2 is get a casting director. And like with No Vacancy, we did both. We knew people, but also we got a casting director who knew even more people. The third way you can do casting is sort of a hybrid of both of those approaches. Because I had moved out of LA. I don't live in LA anymore. And I had moved to a much smaller market, and I had no clue who the actors were in this market. And so basically, we did a screening of No Vacancy at the Elizabeth Hotel, which is an amazing hotel. Shout out to the Elizabeth Hotel for supporting filmmakers in Northern Colorado, which is so crazy to say, because like, how many filmmakers are there in Northern Colorado? Well, I'm one of them, and there's some really amazing people out here in Northern Colorado. So they did a screening of No Vacancy. And that brought me into the network of people who make film, because a bunch of people showed up to that film showcase. No Vacancy was the first film shown there. And I met a bunch of people, including Maya Jairam, who's producer on Disclosure, which is behind me over here. And I had been searching for a casting director in Denver, because casting directors tend to associate themselves with bigger marketplaces, and Denver is obviously a bigger marketplace than Northern Colorado is, right? So I had found a casting director in Denver, and she was going to help me cast Disclosure. Disclosure has a much lower budget than No Vacancy, so she was going to kind of provide me with some names and connections and stuff like that. So it was great. But she had to bow out because she had to get an emergency surgery. Totally fine. So I go back to Maya, and when I was talking to Maya, what I realized was Maya knows everybody. So this is what you're looking for, this like kind of person who just knows everybody and has a secondary quality. And that secondary quality is knows the difference between somebody that's reliable and somebody that's not reliable. Somebody who's an expert versus somebody who's not an expert. That's really important. What you don't want to do is you don't want to find somebody who's well connected but doesn't have a good measuring stick for quality, because you need quality in order to have a better product at the end, right? A better film at the end. So I meet Maya. Maya's amazing. And my other casting director down in Denver had to bow out. So I said to Maya, would you like to come on as the casting director? Now, Maya's not a casting director. It's not like a role that she's done before, but I knew that she knew the right people. She'd already introduced me to several people who were amazing, and she is an actress herself and knows all of the agencies in the area. And we can cast. We had one person in Disclosure, Katie Medved, who came all the way down from Colorado Springs, which is like a 2.5-hour drive. So if you know people in Colorado, you tend to know like lots of people in Colorado. So I said to Maya, I'm like, would you like to come on as the casting director? This is the budget I have for that role. Would you be able to do that? And not only, so Maya is a very experienced actress and has done lots of self-tapes, lots of callbacks. So she knows the process. She knows what gets you good performers for your film. So the hybrid approach is find somebody that you know that's really well connected, but be really careful, because they have to have a high quality measuring stick so that they can be like, this is a good person to have on your film. This is a person you want to avoid and not have on your film. Find that person and then ask them if they will be the casting director for you, right? So those are the three methods that I've utilized to cast films. One is that I just ask all of my friends if they know other people who are good. That works really well, especially if you have a really, really small budget to shoot something. The other method is go see if you can find somebody in Hollywood who has the title of a casting director who's cast other things and ask them to be a part of the team. It's usually going to cost you money, but it's going to net out with lots and lots of auditions. And the third one is find somebody who knows the network of people, knows how to do auditions, and knows because they've done them before, and has a quality measurement to them to say like, this is a really high quality person. This is not, maybe we want to avoid this in our film. Find that person and see if they're willing to be your casting director. That's the three ways that I have cast films. I'm in the process of potentially casting another film, and I'll probably use two different casting directors, one out of LA and possibly one out of Colorado as well, just because I need to have a wider selection of people for this next one, but I need them to be local because we're going to film locally. So so if you have any questions, leave those down in the comments below. Love to answer any questions. If you're a filmmaker, you're trying to cast something, trying to get a crew together, I can answer any of those questions. In fact, those questions become really good topics for these live shows that I'm doing every weekday. So they're not going to be long live streams, but if you have, the more questions you have, the longer I will hang out with you in these live streams. So leave me questions down below, anything to do with casting, anything to do with getting a crew together to go shoot a film. I would love to help you figure that out so that you can have a really good experience shooting your short film or your feature or even your full cast audiobook, whatever it is you want to do. Stay tuned because I'll talk a little bit more about the specific casting of Disclosure. I'll do that tomorrow. So stick around for tomorrow's show. I'm going to go over that in very much detail. How did we do it? Why did we choose some of the people that we chose? What disasters happened along the way? There were no major disasters, but there's one thing that happened that was like, oh, okay, I could not cast the role I wanted to. I'll tell that story tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow live for another Filmmaker Brunch with me. In the meantime, have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. And if you're watching this later, have a fantastic day and whatever day it is. Bye.